What's up? Thanks for
Well,
having me on.
of course. Thanks for coming on.
on.
Well, I'm a regular listener from day one.
I appreciate that
We love
very
to hear
much.
that.
Yeah.
You're leading the pack. You and a few are strongly dedicated to hearing what we've got to say.
Well, I like what you have to say, but the hard thing is being such close friends with you guys. It's weird to not be able to jump in and chat, so I'm grateful to be able to do that now.
Yeah, well, if there's any topics that we've touched on before that you'd like to revisit and give us your 2 cents, then
Yeah,
please, like
do you
fish
disagree with any of
tattoos
our
or
points of view?
I really hold back from texting you nonstop while I'm listening. That's the truth. But this morning I was at the gym and I was listening to your comment about how Japan could potentially be a little bit elitist by not including people. And it reminded me of the Dead going to Egypt. And, you know, who could do that? So,
very
um,
few, very
that's what I
few.
wanted to text you. I have no other comment on that besides
No,
that.
you're right. That's a
No,
good
and it's the
point.
same. It's the same with Mexico.
Mhm.
Like there is a lot of animosity, I think, out there towards Phish directly, and the people who go to Mexico from people who choose not to, can't afford to, because it's jealousy, and there's all kinds of arguments that people throw around that like, why spend so much money to see a band that you could see like at Walnut Creek and spend a 20th of the amount of money, and that other 19th you could be donating to charity.
It's true. And everyone
Yeah,
can.
And
it's
like,
true.
why not do both?
I Yes, or one or the other, whatever suits you. Like I think they've
Exactly.
always done a good job at, having options for everyone.
It's
I
interesting
agree.
you bring that up because I listened back to that the other day and I know I was the one saying, oh, they won't do Japan because, But Jack, your point, like they cannot play small venues, right? It's not possible for them to play in a tiny, venue like they did in Europe, like they did in Japan, right? These like experiences are super intimate, going back to their roots. Like, why wouldn't, like, it would be interesting for them to revisit that experience. And the only way they can is by doing something like that, which is precisely what your point, but I just wasn't really willing to hear it at the time.
Yeah,
I
like I
agree.
I can't wait to hear Drift While You're Sleeping in like a 500-person theater. It'd be crazy.
I happen to like that song and I'd
Me
be
too.
excited to hear
Sure.
it. I
Sure.
was alone in Detroit last year. Everyone went to the bathroom during that song, and I was in a good place. I didn't have to go, and it was just me and Drift While You're Sleeping, and I embraced it, and I really enjoyed it. And it had lots of like twists and turns that I really enjoyed that I sort of always would. I'm trying not to be jaded. And I think you guys talk about that a lot. Like when we all got, well, I'm a little later and we could talk about that. But when we were going to shows in 3.0, every show was the best show ever. This was before, like, I was so naive. Like, I was like, great, the encore is Character Zero. I love Character Zero, you know? And
Yeah.
then I feel like I mean I think but I at least like went through a phase where I was kind of a little I mean I'd seen a lot of shows, so I was selective and picky, and now I think I'm at a point where I'm just grateful. And Fraser, you said that quite a bit in this podcast, and that's sort of how I feel. Like I'm taking it as it comes, and I like it all. I'm just so happy to still be going the way we all go together, and it's about like the best experience. I'm not listening back to the shows the same way I used to in 2010. And like be like on a plane, just relax, like on another planet to a jam. But like when I'm there at the shows, it's the best time ever.
We I struggle with it. I know Jack does. We talk about it all the time. We don't want to be jaded. I mean, we are so grateful. It's just like we're spoiled. It's just absolutely the best night of music and continues to be. But there was something interesting that Kravitz said that made me chuckle. He said, when you are at a show and you feel like something's off, or it didn't deliver, and you leave there with that sensation, and then you criticize yourself being like, look, that was like incredible, it's better than any other band out there, like, why am I being critical? He said quite pointedly that like it's because what they can do, and so it doesn't necessarily make you jaded, and it's important to like watch how you feel, but like it's because you just know how magical it can be. And sometimes you're not going to get that magic every time. And it's like a little bit, like we're chasing that magic. I know I am. Like every show I go to, it's like, this could be the most crazy night of music of my entire life.
And that's what draws us back.
Yeah.
To keep going and going. That's how we can see them 4 nights in a row. That's how we can see them 13 nights out of 16 nights. Like we just want to. There's FOMO, and there's the opportunity of like the greatest thing you've ever experienced. You never know when it's going to happen. Is it going to happen on Sunday?
Dragon.
Is it going to happen on Tuesday? Totally. Is it going to happen on Saturday? Who knows?
That's why you have to go to a whole run. You can't just go to a smidge of a run, because then you're worried you're going to miss the Friday show or the Sunday show, and that's going to be the banger.
Yeah. I mean, so many comments I read or have read about Hollywood where like a dude went to Friday. He like chose Friday over Saturday. And he's like, it was great, but like Saturday was literally like set list porn blowing loads in my ears, and I wasn't there. And like, that's I have huge regret for not showing up to that. But at the same time, like he's going to be at the next one, and he's not going to miss it. That's what's
for sure
one of the greatest allures of this band, is that anything can happen. Harpua, anytime.
It could happen when you least expect it. But then in every show, there's an amazing moment that makes the entire thing worth it. Even if you want to leave feeling like, oh, that wasn't the best show I've ever seen in my entire life, which no show can't, like very few shows are going to top the last best show in your book, right? But then like, you're like, man, like that 2001 just went deep, and it makes the whole show anyway.
Yeah, I mean, those shows in Shoreline when they were moved from the fire, those were like the best shows like possibly ever. That one show, like it was insane. So that's like 15 years into me seeing Phish.
But Phish plays off adversity like that. Like, we're starting to see a pattern, at least I am noticing, and people might have noticed it a long time ago. But like when there's a change in the plan or some sort of minor adversity, whatever it is, they bring it hard. And I think of like the Dark Side of the Moon show. Like I wasn't there, but that's a situation where it's like, hey, here's not a sold out venue. No one's making this trek. They're all going to the next venue, skipping going up north. And then they just do that, right? And it's like, that's the magic that they do all the time. Like those Shoreline shows, it's
their like communication with their community, with their fan base. It's like they've built up this like hype over 40 years of like, make sure you don't miss this one because we might do this or we've done that before. So like if you miss it, you might miss something good, or you might miss nothing, or you might see the best show ever. You never know. And was that
Shoreline show the Forbin show?
That was the Forbin show, and then they opened the second set with Lizards, and then it was that crazy Soul Planet.
Yeah.
And I think was the encore that night like Fee and Wilson. I think
so.
I'm pretty sure. Like it was just a crazy, amazing night, and they they stuck the landing so hard, and it was amazing.
Yeah, Fee and Wilson, and they closed that second set with Hood. They closed the first set with Moon Age Daydream.
Yes.
There was a Way in there. There was, Glide, Colonel Ford, and Mockingbird is like what else could you ask for to open the show?
Can't ask for anything more.
Can't ask for anything else. I know. I still have Forbin on my driveway because the spray paint from our sign went through the sheet and is now permanently on the pavement. It's still there even after a winter.
Wow.
Just Forbin.
I
I know
love that.
that the feeling of holding up that sign
Yeah,
for the entire run of the gorge
that's right.
beforehand, and then going down to Shoreline. I mean, obviously they saw it at the gorge,
Well,
right?
that's what I was going to say. Do you think they saw the sign and bust,
For sure they saw
practiced
the
and
sign.
brought
And
it? Yeah.
then, you could see when they came out, right? They saw the sign again. And there's even like footage of Trey going over to Mike, I
The
think,
Fishman.
to Fishman, and he
Yeah.
like points up at the sign. He's like, it's here again.
There's those guys, and we brought their foreman.
Yeah. And so they went into it. And then what do? Jump hug.
Oh my God, jump hug. I know. I love
Yeah.
jump hugging.
There's
Yeah,
only one other time where we saw it, right?
right. Yeah, the jump truck.
Yeah. That was a great New Year's. I mean, we've seen a lot of New Year's shows together.
Sure have.
Seen a lot
Yeah.
of MSG shows together.
I remember, Dan, the when you got to do Undermine a few years ago, and
Hmm.
Trey was on talking about how obviously they have such a wide catalog of music, but they have to narrow it down and make sure they're tight across stuff, and that's why kind of the Forbin, it's like they saw it at the gorge, right? They're probably like, hey, we should do Forbin, and then probably everyone had to kind of go, okay, like let me get my head around Forbin, and then that's why you get it like a few shows later, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Forbin's like a Rush song. You can't just break it out like Wolfman's Brother. I think
Right.
everyone has to do their homework. They have to practice it together.
Yeah,
Totally.
I love that.
Yeah.
When was your first show? Was it in at Darien?
Yeah, my first show was at Darien in 2009. I was a late bloomer, you know. Fish came into my life late. I was like, into grunge music and my dad's music, which was Bob Dylan and Elton John, all of that stuff, the Beatles. And grunge music got me into like heavier music, like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Ozzy, who all had like incredible electric lead guitar players. But and I got really into that like guitar gymnastics, Van Halen. But my gateway to Fish is 100% Dave Matthews Band. And at summer camp, like mid 90s, I got into Dave from my older counselors. And Dave was like big for me in many ways. Like I loved his lyrics, um, the acoustic playing at Live at Luther College, that double album for me was huge. And if you think about like what I'm sort of known for in the pop world, like acoustifying pop songs, it's very
Mm-hmm.
much like that Dave percussive style. But Dave was the first artist where I was like, I mean, I was going to tons of concerts, but where I was going to multiple nights. My parents were letting me drive to Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, even Buffalo. Um, I was experiencing a band like jamming, changing the set list. Like, obviously, in hindsight, they were changing it nowhere near to what Fish does, but at the time, like, I'd never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing with Dave was it was the first time I was ever getting stoned at concerts. And like, getting stoned at that age was the best thing ever, like high school high, camp high, you know, energetic. Everything is awesome. The world is your oyster. No worries. And I just had the best time at those shows. And I was, they were taking me to like another level. And I saw probably like over 50 shows at that time. And um, later in like the late 90s, a counselor from summer camp was giving me a ride into Toronto, and he was a big Fish head, like early 90s Fish head, like 93. And he played, I mean, he was like, his mission of that drive was to convert me. And he was playing Divided Sky for me. And I remember like thinking, and I had probably verbalized this to him, like, this feels like that middle section of Lion Are Grays where it's just like floaty and I'm in a field and the sun's setting. And he like pulled over and brought out this like old photo binder from under like that he had in his car. And it was like pictures of him and his friends at like Red Rocks and the Gorge. And like I'd never seen venues like that. I don't even think I'd been to like an amphitheater. Well, I'd been in Darien Lake for Dave, but nowhere like, gorgeous like the Gorge. And he dropped me off and he gave me a live one. And I was pretty, I went deep into it and deep into Phish after that. But this was now like 3.0, and Phish only came to Toronto, or sorry, 2.0. Phish only came to Toronto once during 2.0. Oysterhead came, Tab came. There's only one Phish show. Were you guys there
I wasn't.
at Molson Amphitheater in
When
2000?
yeah, that was 1.0.
Oh, that's still 1.0. So did they not come to Toronto in 2.0?
No, they did
Holy
not.
shit.
Yeah.
Wow. So after that, like um, I went to see Tab in 2005 in Cincinnati, and that was amazing. Like I didn't seen Fit. That was my first time seeing them. I've heard First Tube, I Am a Walrus. That was the night one of my friends puked on that Puma jacket that I loved. Remember that jacket, Jack? That
Yeah.
Yale replaced. And then a year later, there was like the Trey and Mike duo that came to Toronto, and that was like a pretty blah show. They played These Eyes by Guess Who, which was awesome, but then Phish got back together, and I went to Darien with your sister, my
And then
wife,
we went to New
Yael.
Year's.
And then we went to New Year's, and like that was fucking it. We went insane after that. We were all in. Like life became like we were just passing time in between shows. And I think, all these things that happened, like we were so into it. I met the band and we had like access to buying tickets, which was huge. In 2011 at that S show, we met like Heron and Kravitz and all, it just blossomed, and like, holy fuck, we saw a lot of shows in 3.0. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
I mean, 2010 to like 2015, we did an intense amount of shows, like every Dick's,
Yeah.
at least 4 or 5 shows in the summer, maybe more. And then every New Year's run, every Vegas run, like we were hitting it as
We were,
often as we could. I mean, we didn't have kids,
yes.
we didn't have like, we were working our work and everything schedule around when we could
Yeah.
see Phish next.
And do you think, I think, obviously, like, well, the access to tickets helped. All of us going certainly helped. Like, that's the best, one of the best things about going is like, all, the fact that not just our friends, but like our immediate family, like now my stepbrother, everyone's in. It's like if
Yeah.
another one of my siblings marries someone who likes Phish, we're fucked because we need more tickets. But, you know, but at the same time, do you think like, and maybe I'm not remembering this, but in 2000, before 2000, like before 3.0, was there like Expedia and could you buy airline tickets online? Like, did that sort of help us make all of these plans to go to all these cities easier than like a triptych, you know?
What we had in 2.0 and 1.0, which was super advanced, was like MapQuest.
I was just gonna say that.
Like as soon
Yeah.
as we could
Print it
print
out.
out the directions to get to like Albany or to
To
get
get to Alligator Alley, bro.
to
That
get
was
to Alligator
big
Alley,
MapQuest.
exactly. Like that was a big MapQuest. But then once you got within like a lot of miles, you knew where to go. There was only one way
Yeah.
in, one way out.
That's true.
But yeah, MapQuest was huge, and like cell phones were super basic. Like you couldn't really do
Yeah.
any like searching. It was just like for calls and like Snake.
Yeah.
That's about it. You couldn't take pictures on it. Everybody
Yeah.
was, if you were taking pictures, you were bringing your.
I mean, even before this chat, I had to close my Chrome because I think it eats up a lot of juice. But I have like the tour. I have got a million maps, hotels, my calendar, like Air Canada, everything open. And it's just like a fucking puzzle. And I'm like, how many shows can I go to? And it's so almost so easy to coordinate now because of that.
Yeah, like I remember in the summer 2000, coordinating that was the most intense coordination that I had to do because we were like
Yeah.
flying to Philly. And then because Lily was in Philly, we had that as our home base, right? And we went from Philly to Homedale to
Oh, you went to those
Hartford.
Camden shows and the
Yeah.
and the
To
oh
Wow.
nice.
Camden,
So we were there
right? And
together. We just didn't know
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that's why
And
I
then
didn't go to Toronto, because there was the Toronto show and then they did Burgestown, right? Like everyone
right,
didn't go to Toronto.
we skipped Burgestown and went to Toronto,
Yeah.
Got
and
it.
then from Toronto all the way to Wisconsin. Like we had like the break in the middle. We skipped Burgestown, stayed in Toronto for an extra night, reloaded
drove.
the truck, and then drove to Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and then to Deer Creek, and then to Columbus, and then like barely made it home.
That's crazy, Yeah. My first time going on a road trip, it was for Dave. I went with my friend Adam down to we went to the 3 shows. I can't believe Dave Matthews always came to Ottawa and Montreal and Toronto, but we hit those 3. And then we would do, like Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, and Rochester. And we drove down and, I must have been 17. I had a car and we didn't know about a fast pass lane. We were like, thanks for the convenience. We'd love to pass fast. And we drove through every fast pass lane and my parents got a bill for like $1,000 American. It was a whole fucking thing. But it was just, those are the days we were like pulling into a gas station asking, where's Darien Lake? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that was like us driving on the New Jersey Turnpike. Like we were like, cool, New Jersey Turnpike, let's do it.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
insane.
from Canada. Like you don't pay to go on a highway.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. How did you recall the time that you first met anybody in this band?
Good question. The first person that I met was Trey. In 2009, I was doing a Jingle Ball with Bieber, those like radio shows, and it was at Madison Square Garden. I had seen, this was just the winter after Darien Lake, and we were going to go, 2 weeks later to Miami to see the New Year's run, and the MSG hallway is like pretty tight, and Taylor Swift was there, and there was like, it's like Bring Your Kid to Work Day, the Jingle Ball. It was like packed, and I was like squishing through the hallway, and then I bumped into Trey and his kids, and it was really, I was like so shocked to see him there, and I could tell he was like out of place, like he was biting his nails, he was nervous, and I was like, what are you doing here? And he said, these are my girls. We're here to see Bieber. And I brought Trey to Justin's dressing room. I remember Scooter, his manager, was like, Justin, this is the reason most of my friends quit law school. And everyone was chuckling. And I got a picture with him. And I think, I was working and we hadn't played yet. And I was so stunned. Like, you've met Trey with me, Jack. So have you, Fraser. Have you met Trey with us? And it's like the best. And now I've met him enough where like I actually have a list. I keep a list of questions. Like I could really have a moment, but then I was just so panicked. It was so exciting. But then the other one, with Mike was the first Dick's run in 2011. That was the S show year. You had met Kravitz way earlier
Red Rocks
than
in
me.
2009.
Red Rocks.
Yeah.
And I met him and his kids at that, January 1st New York show, like the sober show. I think that's what people call it. And anyway, and he introduced me to Mike. We were all there at Coyotes. And then shortly after that, I kept in touch with Mike, and he invited Yale and I out to the flood benefit in Vermont that year, which was an awesome show. Greg and Anne Marie from Camp High were with us. It was just a great time. Yeah, that's my memory of those ones.
Yeah,
But
it's just flourished ever since then. You were very good at, building and maintaining relationships with a lot of people. It's admirable.
Well, thank you. It's not hard with them because, like especially Mike and his, and Sue, they were like legit friends. And I think like I really like, I'm such a fanboy. Like we used to go backstage and you were with, and we would just be like, that was the best thing ever, like on another planet. I don't think like, never really like wanted anything from him. I wasn't looking to start a band with him or whatever. Like just wanted to be able to buy tickets
The
so we could all
craziest,
go see them.
the craziest experience was at Chicago that year, right?
Yes.
When the storm was brewing and they just like cut the show,
Yeah.
and you're like, let's go backstage. We went backstage, and like, I had been backstage, I think, once before in Long Beach. We were all there together.
Didn't you come backstage in Bader Field also?
I don't think so, but maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Bader Field is when I became friends with Tom Marshall.
Whoa.
that was a fun weekend too. And
Wait, but the Chicago thing, can we go back to that for a second?
Yeah.
They cut the show short, right? Then there's the
during
rumors
Prince
that they're
Caspian.
going to play
like
somewhere.
right as after the second set started, they're like, sorry, there's lightning and we have to stop the show. And
Down with Disease and Caspian.
yeah. And we were not far, like we were kind of near the front of house, and we made our way to backstage. We had a few laminates. We get back there, it's like this giant open area and there's nobody there, right? Like it's just a wide open space.
And what was weird, sorry, I'm going to jump in. What was weird is the storm was like 20 minutes away. They were evacuating before the storm. So at this time, like it was like a beautiful night and we were like elevated and we're just back there and no one's there.
Yeah, and it was so cool as they were playing Down with Disease, like seeing this lightning off in the distance behind the stage. Like it was actually an incredible scene. And we get back there and like there's nobody there, and it's just this wide open like area so we walk back towards the 4 buses, and all of a sudden like Trey pops out from between the 2 buses and he's like so excited to see you. He just like was like, Dan, what's up? And I was just like, hi, Trey. And then, I don't even recall the conversation that you guys had, but I think he was a little bit like, verklempt of the situation and like, there's nothing they could do. And then we see Mike, and Mike's like, let's go see some blues. Get on the bus. And we get on Mike's bus and we pull out, and where do we go? Like we went to a couple places, right?
Yeah.
On the
we
bus.
went to, yeah.
Go ahead. You maybe recall this a little bit better.
I mean, what I recall what's weird about that too is that I think it was the time when like Yarmouth Road came out and he was like playing us a new song. But anyway, I digress. And we went to a blues bar. Yeah, we had food. I remember that. It was really fun. And then he was saying that there was going to be like a jam at Second City with Fishman. Could I play guitar? And so we went over there, and that's what happened. I don't even know how they got put together, but like there was a Second City performance, and there was I forget her name, but the Second City musical director. She was an amazing piano player, and Fishman on drums, and Mike and me, and we were playing like little weird bumpers along with their improv, and Jack and Yale were sitting in the front row. Jack actually, thank God you filmed it.
I like recorded the whole thing,
which was really cool. Like it's so unexpected, and it was especially, I remember really well. Like I played with a lot of drummers and bass players, and they're like the rhythm section. And like even though it was loose and silly, like those two were so fucking locked in to their patterns. Like it was really cool to experience, and I was sort of just like coloring over it, but like just to be sort of in it and hearing how improv, like they're just starting a groove, and all of a sudden, like, did you guys plan this? It's like in a musical where everyone like starts dancing at the same time.
And the cool thing about it was like nobody from Phish, nobody had any expectation of any of this ever happening. Everybody who was there had committed to go to Second City. Like they weren't in town to see Phish. They had no idea any of this was going to happen. Usually
Yeah.
Second City does like 2 sets in a night. And this was the 3rd set that they like sprung on everybody because we didn't get there till like 11:30.
Yeah.
And we're backstage and like we're with Mike. Fishman shows up. I think he was like a little bit tipsy, and they like hand Dan a guitar.
Yeah. A
like,
Gibson
okay,
335.
let's
Yeah, we
go
did
out there and do it. And it was so cool.
Yeah, and it's crazy that turned into 2 nights later, this Harpua with Second City.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the next night, it was a torrential downpour at the show.
I missed it. I had to go.
Yeah,
I don't
you had
know
to
how
leave.
irresponsible I was, but I was playing the Boston Garden with Bieber. So I flew out the next morning to Boston Garden to play there, which in hindsight, like I should never have been traveling day of show. And, but again, my priorities were with Phish. And then the next day, that was a 3-set show. Was it raining for that 3-set show?
I remember distinctly that during Boogie on Reggae Woman, it was just like a torrential
I think
downpour.
You're thinking of the
night
third,
before?
No, the third night, because they played Lizards and Harpua, and we were soaking wet during it.
You came back.
We were on that platform.
Yeah. And you
I
came
think
back
the third
for the
night.
third night?
I came back for the third night. Yeah.
After playing the Boston Garden on Saturday.
Yeah, of
you
course.
came back for the Sunday show. Because I
we stayed
distinctly
at the
remember
Sofitel.
Scrappy being there for
Scrappy
the rain.
came back the third night with me.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the next night was Toronto, and that had got rained out earlier, and it was the day off before Bieber's Toronto show, which was, for me, it was really convenient. And we saw that show. And that was a great show. Do you remember that? We had a box.
I didn't come to that show.
You didn't come to that?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I went back to LA.
That was a really good night in Toronto.
Was it the makeup show?
It was the makeup show of the one that it never started the one that got rained out. It was canceled before.
Yeah, I didn't come to that.
2 hours before doors.
I don't know what I was doing, but I didn't come.
Yeah, that was a fun night in Chicago. So crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What about Long Beach?
Yeah, Long Beach is one of my favorite shows. I have a lot of favorite shows, but that's definitely one of them. That was a great night. I heard you talk to Yale about that night because, obviously like Bieber and Selena came with us.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. But that was the night that we got all the backstage passes because Justin,
that's the night
Selena,
I met. That's the first time I met those guys. It
so
was
you came
I
back.
was starstruck.
Were you
I
on the?
Say anything.
Were you on the bus with us?
No, he met us
I
there.
met you guys there.
And then you came backstage with us.
Yes, after the show, a set break after the show, and yeah.
That was a fun time. I mean, taking Bieber backstage. Do you remember, Jack? I mean, you were there too, Fish. Like, we went into Fishman's room, and he had this list of 500 songs, and he stood up and was talking to Justin, and then he kicked him out. He was like, "Sorry, but I have to practice."
Yes.
Wow, no one's ever kicked Bieber out of a room before, besides police. Yeah, it was really fun. And then we got all their laminates and not just theirs, but their security. We must have had 10 laminates at the start of Summer Tour. You and Yale and a whole bunch of people went to all these shows. I was stuck.
Rehearsing.
Not stuck. I mean, I was rehearsing. I remember at that point, I hadn't heard Lizards yet. They played it that year on the last night of Dick's, but you and Yale were at Pelham and they played a rock and roll Lizards. And they ended that first set with While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which I'd never heard. And actually, that's one of the shows I listen to the most of any show. It's a really solid show.
Yeah, that was the CD you had.
I remember on Twitter, refreshing, and then it said Lizards, and I was, really happy and sad.
The FOMO.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the FOMO right there. It's you miss that song you're chasing. It happens to somebody every night.
Oh my gosh. And sneaking into Bill Graham and getting the front row of the balcony with those laminates. That was a good year.
That was the best move ever. Just wearing all black to Bill Graham and have the laminate and just like pretending like I'm working. Worked
Yeah,
perfectly.
totally.
Yeah, that was perfect. And like Bill Graham, what a shit show that place was when they'd play there. It was like the Greek this year. Like
Was it?
people waiting for hours to get in, and you do even then do not get a decent spot because it is all GA. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is in San Francisco. Like they got to go with these tiny all GA venues. Like who's booking these venues?
Is Hampton GA as well?
Yeah.
So what was that like for the reunion for you guys? You were there with who?
I was there with J-Back
Yeah.
and Ira. And luckily, Ira went in early. He got in before us and held down a spot for us.
For all 3 shows?
Definitely the first night. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I think we learned our lesson the second and third night and got there much earlier and were able to secure a spot. But
Where were you sitting for the first night?
The video.
Yeah, we basically took that video. No, we were actually on the same side, on Mike's side, a little bit further down and a little bit closer. I'm pretty sure. And then the other 2 nights we were kind of on Page side in the back corner. I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember Hampton being GA. I mean, I wasn't at that one, but we went to the
I think
other
in
ones.
2003 it was GA also.
Really?
I think so. But that place is much easier GA because it's like 3 times the size. Right? Like there's way more opportunity to get a good spot at Hampton, similar to like the show that they did at Blue Cross in 2013, an arena that is GA. There's way more opportunity to get a good spot as opposed to the Greek, which has like not that many good spots. And Bill Graham, which like if you are not there early and you're like a sardine at the back of the floor, you are having a tough time.
So at the Greek, are you lining up for the floor or the stands, or you're just
both
going in?
Both. Like they had like early entry for some people who were going in and just tarping the shit out of that place. Like it was crazy. And you know, if you didn't protect your tarp, people were moving it. And like there was ish ensuing very quickly. You know, like I had to be on it to hold our spot down all 3 nights, which I feel bad about sometimes. But then again, you know, I'm a vet. I know what I got to do.
Kravitz called it Phish Survivor.
Basically, Phish Survivor. I mean,
outlast,
it's so stressful.
Outplay.
It's stressful. It's also with when we roll with such a big crew, you know, that makes it stressful too.
That's why Dick's was so great.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a giant venue. It's GA. You go with 30 people. There is a very good chance that you all are going to be together comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
So should we request floors for the Garden? I don't know. You know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I never prefer the floor.
Yeah, I like a seat.
I like a seat too.
I like to put my drink in a cup holder. I mean, we sound like such snobs. I'm lucky to be in the building, but I like a cup holder.
Yeah, I like a cup holder. And MSG in the winter, I like to have a spot like to put my garbage bag full of warm clothes.
Yeah.
You know, that's the move.
Yeah.
Bring a garbage bag in your pocket and put your jacket in it, or else you're going to be leaving with a wet jacket.
Right?
Yeah.
So what else do you guys talk about on here? Is it just random? How's your
how's your feelings towards Goose?
It's a great question. Whoa. I haven't seen them yet, so I have to go see them. But I like what I've heard. I think I told you this in Mexico. I was backstage at Set Break, and I met a guy, and he happened to be the drummer from Goose, Ben, and he was there with his fiance, who my wife, they hit it off pretty hard, and and they were super nice. And I was on one. I kept joking, like, I've never heard your band. Um, and, and then when I came home, I put it on like while I was making breakfast on Alexa all the time. And I like it, like it's cool. I want to go see them. I also, in a similar way, I want to go see Gizzard. Yale and I have been
Hmm.
listening, not that I'm comparing the two, but like they seem to be like the two new bands that everyone's fucking talking about nonstop. And I got to see them both live for different reasons. But yeah, do you guys like Goose?
I like. I'm not against Goose. I
Have you
will
seen
go.
them yet?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen them twice. I saw them at the Troubadour in 2020, right before the pandemic, and I
Hmm.
was like, "Yeah, this band's fun." And since then, they've evolved quite a bit.
Hmm.
The guy with the mustache, like when I saw them in 2020, he barely played the piano. It was basically like two guitars, drums, bass.
Yeah.
And when I saw them again, I guess last year at the
The Greek.
Greek, he was like 90% piano.
Yeah.
And Rick was the guitar. It was like more of a, and they have a percussionist too, right? I think.
Yeah, there's
like
a
they have two,
percussionist and a drummer.
yeah, percussionist and drummer and bass and the mustache guy
Yeah.
and Rick.
I-
And
They have fun.
They
I
They're
have
want
fun.
to. I want to like them because I think one of the things for me when when I got into Phish I was 28 when when I started going to shows, and I hadn't gotten into a band that obsessively like since I was a teenager. And I don't, since then I also haven't. Like I've definitely like rediscovered bands or gone down like crazy Beatles rabbit holes, but like I would love to discover a new band the way that like, like
See,
in an innocent new way.
my personal feeling on Goose is like if Goose and Phish started at the same time, right? Like if it was like Goose coming up at the same time as Phish, they would have nothing. Like nobody would care about Goose, at least in this scene, because like they play it safe. Like they are very like within the realm of like pushing the envelope. They're not even in the same room as the envelope.
Yeah.
Like they have this formula for these songs that are very like within a certain realm of appreciation for the layman, right? They're not like going off on tangents that are going to make people like question whether this is good or what the fuck are they doing. It's always like within, the key of whatever the song they're in, and they're
Yeah.
not like flying all over the place.
It sounds to me like the way I haven't heard them jam. I haven't listened to Live Goose, but it sounds like sort of like Dave. And that's why I jumped. I'm back into Dave and I love his songs, but the jamming was sort of safe in that key, fixed,
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're young, like
Yeah.
they will evolve over time, and maybe they'll get more complex and deeper into writing more, different types of songs. I feel like they're a great band to go see when they come to town. I'm not
Totally.
I'm not going.
I want to check them out in the fall when they're in town. But you're right. It is safer, and they do the jam band thing, and then they peak, and then they, drop it, and then they jam it. And, I'm a sucker for a peak, but it's just missing a little something. But, like I grew up on Phish, right? Like Phish is what earwormed me as a teenager, and I can't undo that, right? And they take so many more risks. And to your point, Jack, like how many times did they get up on stage doing something like Henriette? Like you just like, who are these people? Is this even music? What is happening right now? Like, I'm not even sure if I like this. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, these guys are so creative. Goose is a little formulaic, but they have some great, like I had a great time at the Greek.
Great time at the Greek.
Yeah.
I just think that like maybe if I was 25 years old, I would feel differently about it. that there's like this new, everybody's into kind of jam band that's going to provide an experience on lot and tour and all these things. People like-minded who were like into this music. And that was like a huge thing with Phish as well. You know, like when I first went to see Phish at a festival, I was like, this band is fucking crazy. But
Yeah,
then when I saw the scene and got into the vibe, all the people who were just like there had created this whole community. But I find that Los Angeles and larger cities, Chicago, New York, you know, Denver, they have a much wider range of people who are willing to go to these shows to check things out. But then when you're going to smaller towns on tours, I'm sure that the Goose audience is skewed a little bit younger. But in LA, I noticed that there was a lot of like deadheads, Phish heads who were like, oh, Goose is coming to town. Like, let's go check him out. Because that's who we were, right? We're like the Phish heads who were like, Goose is coming. Let's go check it out.
We probably look older than we think we do.
Like if you were going to play for me, like a blind test of like Twiddle, Spafford, Goose, I have a feeling I'd have a very tough time like picking out who is who. You know, there's been that like consistent sound of like alt jam band sound for the last 20 years that have kind of had that same
Humphreys, same.
No, Humphreys is different. Humphreys is different because they go they go much harder.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're like more of like on the like harder prog rock, even like touching on prog rock, like harder rock side of jamming. They do have like the floaty stuff here and there, but like Humphreys is way more like you know, like they're going after it hard, whereas like Spafford, and maybe it's more vocally, like all these kind of jam bands that have come up and come down and floated around in Phish's wake for the last 20 years have sounded very similar. But then, what was I going to say? But then you get a band like King Gizzard, and they are their own genre.
Yeah.
You know, like
they've made it their own.
They've made it their own because they are all over the fucking place. I can't listen to them in my headphones. Like,
I want to go to the show, but I don't put it on at home. I tried, you know, I listened to it because I want to know what I'm getting myself into, but it's not dinner music.
And like my friends have sent me Gizzard songs that I've been like, whoa, this is great. But then like I listen to the next track and it's like, whoa, what the fuck are they doing? It's kind of like how it was when I first heard live Phish tapes in the early mid 90s. And I was like, they're playing like Divided Sky. And then they go into Big Black Furry Creatures from Mars. I'm like, what the fuck is this band doing? But you don't know until you go and see it. Yeah. And you feel the energy that's coming from the crowd, from the band, from the whole ambiance of the experience. And that's why I really want to see King Gizzard. And they're coming to LA in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Aren't they? That show is like a 4-hour set though, right? Is that at Hollywood Bowl?
Yeah, three or 4 hours.
Giant set.
One giant,
They're calling it a marathon.
Do they normally do 2 sets, King Gizzard? Or they do that? That's cool. Wow. Well, that's an intense first show to go to.
Yeah. But you know, the Hollywood Bowl.
Hollywood Bowl is the best. Bowl. I know you
do
guys
we like
have
the
been
Hollywood Bowl?
I mean, fuck. Is every episode about how you like the Hollywood Bowl?
Pretty much.
This is the Hollywood Bowl podcast.
Yeah. Seriously,
Apex Hollywood Bowl podcast.
Did you have a good time at the Hollywood Bowl, Dan?
I had the greatest time at the Hollywood Bowl.
Right.
It should be an annual thing, and I loved everything about it, except that they didn't have tequila. And you know what? I snuck in my own fucking tequila, and it was even better because I loved it. It was amazing. It should be an annual thing. Everything you guys have said about it, I agree with. I actually will go as far as saying it's my if I could pick anywhere where they would play, well, actually I should slow down on this statement because I really want them to do Japan. But of the places that they normally play, Hollywood Bowl would be my first choice for them to do next year over, the Gorge. I've never been to Red Rocks. I'd love to, but fuck, I love the Hollywood Bowl. I love going to LA. I love Jack's house. I love the setup. I love the bowl, and it was so great. And your comment about everyone visiting each other, like it was just so chill and great. Like I got to see all my friends. Like it was just so awesome.
Yeah, it's not like you have to like finagle your way around the floor and like avoid people's tarps and like kicking over people's water bottles and getting side eye from people because you're like encroaching their, unspoken territory. Everything is like kind of blocked off and
very
all
civilized.
kinds of open space.
Yes, and the Phish gods have always been kind to us. Like we got a good setup at the Hollywood Bowl in our boxes. It's like, remember when we were at the Gorge and there was an empty box next to ours? Like we were lucky that we get like just a good setup. We've never been like we have been squished in like sardines. The first year at Dick's we were, when that guy was crying when they played Sabotage. I remember being like so excited and so fucking squished in at the same time. There's a guy crying on the ground. But Hollywood Bowl is the best. Yeah, I made a list of questions for you guys. And one of them is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me change. Well, the first one, I guess I could say, is what is your favorite venue to see Phish? I know the answer.
Right
Is that
now,
the answer?
Hollywood Bowl.
100% Hollywood Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your favorite studio album?
Like, you mean like, is a live one a studio album? No.
Junta.
Yeah.
Or Riff.
Good call.
Right.
Easy.
Favorite Halloween show that you weren't at?
I would say Remain in Light.
I don't know. This is really hard to pick.
All right. Want me to keep going?
Pass right now.
Should I keep
come
going?
Back to it. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite night of the Baker's Dozen?
The Lawn Boy night.
The Lawn Boy.
And I wasn't there.
That was a good night. I liked. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you wear a Phish shirt to a Phish show?
Never.
Not anymore.
Only if it's a lot shirt from 1.0.
Do you say Anastasio or Anastasio?
Anastasio.
Asio. Yeah, it's Anastasio.
Do you say Junta or Junta?
Junta.
Both.
What is your least favorite Phish song of all time? Mine is The Line. Tied with The Line or Sing Monica?
Sing Monica was what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. My least favorite Phish song. I mean,
God. I've blocked him out of my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Velvet Sea.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Like that's at the bottom?
It's near the bottom.
Wow.
It's near the bottom. Like a lot of the slow ones, Like,
yeah, part of the reason I don't like the slow ones, or like they're my least favorites, are not because I don't like the song, but where they choose to play them in the second set.
Yeah.
So I don't dislike Velvet Sea. I just fucking hate when it's like, the third last song of the second set, and I'm ready to rage.
Like a song like, you're ready to rage. Exactly. A song like Velvet Sea, though, sometimes gives you the space you need to like collect your space. I don't mind a slow song because it's like
your space.
It lets you kind of like regroup and kind of just get ready for the next one. Wow,
Yeah.
I'm so surprised Velvet Sea is that low on your list. I mean, there's so many esoteric songs that are like, I don't need to hear that.
Yeah, like I don't like More that much.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like my least favorite ever, but it's like Yeah, like the non-memorable ones I don't really remember,
Fair enough.
but
Um,
there's
Those
a
are good
few.
questions. Just
all
hadn't
right,
unprepared.
I've got more. You bump into Trey before the show, and he says, "I'll play any request."
Wow.
Easy.
Okay.
Harpua.
Okay.
Same. All right.
I mean, I love a Divided. I love a Lizards. I love a Fluffhead. Like,
Same.
it's hard to pick. I'm
Okay,
like
fine.
doing a really bad job answering these questions.
Harpua, or what I've been chasing for the last how many ever 20 years, Walfredo.
I was going to ask one of my questions is, what song have you not heard?
Well,
Walfredo.
like, that's not a fair question. Hang on a second, because it's like you're asking Trey to play the one song you've been chasing, or you're asking Trey to play the song that like touches your soul. Like that, it's different, right?
Well, that's for you to decide.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's up to you. You got to make that choice. Or are you going to play the one song that you think everybody else is going to love the most?
A joy.
You're a man of the people.
Right. Who did you see your first show with?
I saw my first show with a kid I went to summer camp with who lived in like Chappaqua, New York. Like he lived outside New York City. And I still remember somehow we must have, I don't even know the circumstances, but we got tickets for New Year's 97 and I stayed at his house and we went, and that was the only show I ever saw with him. He fell off. I don't know. Maybe he's deep in the scene, but we never went to another show together. My Phish career went a different direction, but yeah, thank God he went with me so that I could go.
Yeah.
I went to my first show with a man we all know named Jason Pack and Frenchie.
Legend.
Frenchie, that's right.
Frenchie. Yeah.
Who's someone that you brought to their first show? Anyone.
Your
someone
wife.
Important. My wife. True.
Yeah. I brought Yale to her first show. I didn't bring my wife to her first show, but we did meet at a show.
Yeah, I brought my wife to her first show. I also brought my college roommate. I brought to his first show, which I don't remember exactly what it was. It was either a random Albany show, or something, Schenectady, Albany back in the 2000s, or it could have been Radio City, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
You also brought your daughter to her first show.
I brought my daughter to her first show Saturday night at the Hollywood Bowl. Legend show. I keep telling her.
Yeah. I brought a few people. I brought my stepbrother Max, and also someone I'm very, happy that he came is Josh Goodwin, who we're all close friends with. Were you tight with him back then, Jack? When he came to the Forum?
No, but we've become
like
good friends.
Tight, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's deep. I love it.
I think he's only been to one show without me.
All right, I have two more questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite Tab song that Phish doesn't play?
Phish doesn't play?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I have no idea what any of the names of those songs are.
Well,
all right.
My favorite Tab song that wasn't a Tab song, but that was a cover that Tab did that Phish never plays is Ooh Child.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
I've always wanted Phish to cover that because like when Tab played in Toronto for the first time, like back in 2000, they played that song and I was just like, wow, I like this band. Who is this guy?
Cool. All right, last question. What's your favorite Pork Tornado song?
Ooh.
That's it.
No idea.
The Jam.
I feel like I saw Pork Tornado or Jazz Mandolin. Like, I don't know the difference, but...
What's Jazz Mandolin?
It was
Fishman's other band.
Fishman's other band.
Heard of that.
I don't know
really?
Which one I saw, but it was at... I still remember it was the Summit Music Festival in upstate New York.
I think that was Jazz Mandolin.
I think it might have been Jazz Mandolin. Yeah.
And we
I've
can
never heard of jazz mandolin.
revisit one of my least favorite songs, Waiting All Night. Did we say that one?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I don't need to hear that one ever.
Ran, that's what I call it. One year in the Vegas run, it was like an encore. Do you remember that? It was like one of the worst. Max Gannis would remember this detail. It was like the worst encore ever. It was like Waiting All Night and then the Star Spangled Banner a cappella, I think.
Those are other songs that I'm actually not so into. Like every time that I've seen Phish and they go up to that a cappella mic, I'm just like crossing every finger like Freebird, Freebird, Freebird.
Freebird, yeah.
I was going to say, I like when they do Freebird.
Have you ever heard them do Freebird?
Yes.
They did it at New Year's in 98, I think. Like 97 to 98. They did
Okay,
it.
then that must have been it. 97, 98, MSG. Because I was like, I have heard it, but I couldn't tell you where.
Yeah, that I wasn't at that show. And every time they go up there and it's like, I didn't know. I'm just like, fine.
It would be nice if they did those like random bust outs again. Like I would love for them to do Terrapin one night. I listen to that all the time. That would have been cool if they like just did that at the Baker's, like one song. They don't have to do the whole album. They play other songs from Halloween. Why can't they play a Dark Side song? I mean, to your point, that was like a one and done. You didn't come to the show? Fuck you.
Exactly. And like they learned the entire album like in one day.
Crazy.
And they played Smells Like Teen Spirit as the encore.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, really was.
That would have been amazing to see.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've got a lot more in store for us. You think they're going to do anything special at their mini half Baker's dozen run at MSG this summer?
That their arbitrary number of 7 or 8. What is it?
7, I think.
I honestly don't know. I've been stressed out about it, but I've heard all of you guys speculating every week about it is making me more anxious of what they're going to do. Because I don't want to go to Vegas for like 10 shows, and I also don't want to miss the Sphere if they're going to do that. Sounds like Coachella would be awesome. I'm going there for that Power Trip festival. I've never been, so I'm really excited. And Jack, you always say the weather in October is like perfect.
Best.
But yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do. I mean, sometimes they just do good shows. Like, but I my personal thought, and you guys were talking about this morning, or sorry, I was listening to you guys talk about it this morning, is the reason they announced Mexico so early has to be to like get everyone locked into that and give people time, because there's going to be another like big spend coming up. So whether they did it to like out of respect to people to buy them time, to pay off their credit card, or they did it just to get everyone to buy Mexico because that's the only next thing, and they have, something's coming.
Yeah,
right?
I hope so. I hope they play the Sphere. I really do.
It sounds cool. I mean, I think the projection is interesting. Fraser, you were talking about that. Like, are they going? They can't like match the video the way like U2. You were already, you were saying this in your last app or previous app. I don't know when this is airing, but maybe like the Deadheads video that rolls and it's not timed to the music. It's just cool. Sometimes it's, their images. Sometimes it's just like weird screensaver, trippy shit, I'm definitely going to go to see U2 at the Sphere.
Yeah.
I love Octung Baby. And
is that what they're doing?
And I just
they're
want
doing
to see
all
the Sphere.
Octung Baby?
Like hits in Octung Baby. Yeah.
Wow. I might have to
Yeah.
I love Octung Baby.
But I don't know what they're going to do. What are you guys doing this summer? Are you going to any shows?
Madison Square Garden, maybe for a couple nights.
Same.
That's it.
Just waiting for Hollywood Bowl to get announced.
I'm afraid to go to any other shows and just like be like, well, that wasn't as good as the Hollywood Bowl.
I really hope that they make it an annual thing. Did you guys? Was this you guys said this where they should have like Mexico, New York, Dick's, Hollywood Bowl, just cover
Yeah.
all the corner and the gorge, maybe, whatever.
Cover the corners and
Cover the
travel in between
corners.
as you see fit.
Exactly. And like, if you want to be nice, like go to Chicago too.
Well,
I would rather them
drop it in
do-
Mike's ear.
Like New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, LA, and maybe the Northwest every 4 years.
I would personally, I don't know how it works out financially or how this affects fans in markets, but I would rather them play like 3 nights in a bunch of major markets than do this whole zigzagging tour through America.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like play 3-4
For me,
nights.
that works better.
3-4 nights in New York, 3-4 nights in Atlanta, 3-4 nights in Chicago. Because for 500 miles surrounding or more, people will come. And if they're playing multiple nights, everybody will have a chance to be included.
Yeah.
You know, same with LA. And if you want to get fancy, go to the Northwest. And if you want to get even fancier, go to Texas. But like, how much are they selling in Texas? Their biggest fan bases are in the Southeast and the Northeast, right?
Have you ever seen a show in Texas?
No.
Yeah, I haven't either.
No. But it's like centrally located for like the southern Midwest.
Did
right?
you go to Phoenix 2 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
And how was that? I think I met you guys in San Diego, right?
Phoenix was amazing. It really was. And Chula Vista is an incredible venue.
Dude, they opened with Fluffhead.
Yeah.
It was great.
That fall 21 run on the West Coast was incredible. It really was. And they were here twice. You know, like they came in the summer and in the fall, which was like such a weird treat. You know?
Yeah.
So
I'm
not their tour manager. If I was booking their tour,
I don't know how thought out it is. I mean, it's obviously thought out, but probably not as. Look, we take it so personally. You know, I mean, my life revolves around it, so I'm just so affected by it. I wish they would just tell us.
I just want everybody to have a good time. You know, everybody get your chance to go see Phish in the summer or in the fall or both.
Yeah.
You know, or in the spring.
I think it's been pretty good.
They should work like the geographics with the environment. You know, like let's avoid the Northeast from like October to March. And let's play like in the South those months. And then when it's summertime, we can go a little bit further north and play in Chicago and play in New York and Boston and wherever the fuck else there is up there. I don't know. You know, Philadelphia, right? Like, let's go these places in the summer, and in the winter, let's go where like the weather is actually going to be decent and we can continue to play outside.
I mean, there must be some kind of crazy computer program with all of the sports teams and everyone touring where you enter the band and it goes beep, and like there's your routing of your tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how it's
for
crazy.
all your trucks and your crew and availability and all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine how they just,
it's just crazy that they like never play in Florida anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they never go down to Miami once every 5 years. When was the last time they played there? New Year's
2013 maybe?
Something like that.
Something like
14?
that. Yeah. I wasn't there for that. I wonder where
Me neither.
Oh, because I was having a kid. Must have been 14 because Zach was born in 15.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I wasn't there either. I don't think. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I went to Africa.
Cool, guys.
Africa tour. Forget Japan. Forget Europe. Let's go to Africa.
I hope they go to Japan. It's my favorite country in the whole world. And
I agree. If they go to Japan, a lot of people are going to be very excited.
I think so. But you're right. They have to go for the novelty of it, like for the experience. They're not going to play 20,000.
That would be cool to recreate that magic from 40 years ago. And I get it now. It made sense hearing Jack say it a second time. I was like, you know what? I get that. Like, why not revisit, those early days of those small, playing in Burlington or the early 90s, It It
I
would be
mean,
cool for them.
yeah, they're not doing it for the money. I mean, maybe they could film a documentary of their trip and then they could sell it to Netflix and now they've paid for the tour. I don't know, but either way, they should do it. I'm in.
Yeah,
Me too.
me too.
Well,
Mhm.
Dan,
Cancel
thank you
Mexico.
so much for coming on, dude.
Thanks, guys.
Will you come back?
But anytime.
Okay, good.
Sweet.
I'm listening. I'm always in the conversation, whether I'm on it or not.
All
I
right,
love
good.
it.
Good.
Yeah,
This was
you guys
awesome.
are doing a great thing. It's so It's so cool you guys are doing this.
Well,
You know,
we're
you
trying to
just
keep
sit around
busy.
talking about Phish. You might as well record yourself doing it.
That's what we
Exactly.
thought.
Nice.
You know,
I gotta write
especially
you a
in these,
jingle.
yeah,
bumper.
especially
I'm
in
sorry, I haven't
these.
done it yet. A bumper.
That's okay. Especially in these lulls between tour, where
Yeah.
there's only so much we can dig into without being hypercritical or hyper praising of what they're doing. There's no in between.
Totally. Exactly.
Awesome,
All right, cool.
guys.
Cool, guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Dan.
much.
Love ya.
Thank you. This was fun. Let's do it
See you,
again.
buddy.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk
Okay.
soon. Love you
Take
guys.
care.
Love you. Bye.